Hey, it's Josh, and welcome to the Influential You podcast. Now, I'm excited to get into our topic that we're going to be discussing for the next few weeks. It's what we call personality in transaction. If you've been around the world of HR or maybe sociology, you may already be moaning, not another personality test. I hear you. Over the last few years, I've been called Summer, the color yellow. I've been called a dolphin. I've been called an ESFP. And to be honest, it's all kind of out of control and a little bit silly. Here at Influential You, we've studied well over 200 different personality-based models, and many of them are quite complex and some aren't very intuitive. Today, we're going to tackle the question of why study personalities. We'll give a brief description of the 4 personalities in transaction that we study here at Influential You and answer why we think that you'll agree our model is the best. Now, I'm biased, but I believe that you'll agree that our model has a ton of value. But before we begin, I want to remind you that this podcast is made possible by Influential You's self-guided program, Thrive. Each week in the Influential You Thrive program, we have a live e-coaching session. Now, more recently, it's been led by my CEO, John Patterson, and myself, but we frequently include Influential You faculty, alumni, and specialists on the topics that we're studying. Thrive members also receive access to all of the e-coachings that we've recorded over the last couple of years, plus classic recordings from the early days of Influential You in our focus lectures, which are led by co-founders Kirkland Tibbles and John Patterson, and our vice president Drew Knowles and Marnie Power. If you're feeling ambitious and it's time to do something bigger, we want to give you a taste of this free 30-day trial, and we think you're going to love it. To read more about the Thrive program, you can head to influentialyou.global/thrive or follow the link in the show notes. If you choose to join us for the e-coachings in the Influential You Thrive program, use code 30days at checkout for a free 30-day trial. That's 30DAYS at checkout, or you can text the word Thrive to 805-262-9008. Once again, text the word Thrive to 805-262-9008, and you can cancel Thrive at any time. Now, let's get down to business. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Influential You podcast. I'm your host, Josh D'Amigo, faculty member and advisor here at Influential You. Now, at Influential You, we teach you how to take charge of your career and amplify your professional influence. Since 2009, we've helped thousands of business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs become more influential, more rewarded, and more you. We all know extroverted people. Hi. We all know introverted people. We all know creative people, and all of us know analytical people. We also all know people who demonstrate highly varied behavioral characteristics depending on their social environments. So how do these types apply in a transactional approach? Well, today we're going to discuss why we study personality at Influential You, introduce our personality and transaction model, and I'll tell you why I believe our model is much, much more valuable than others. First, the why. Now, it's been proposed that human beings generally fall into one of 4 basic personality or behavioral types or temperaments. Now, I'd never heard this, so if this is the first time that you're hearing it, you can probably just jump right into an online quiz, or maybe you've had a life coach talk about what animal you are. I've also heard things about what color is my balloon, and I've heard all sorts of 4 objects that are themed that coaches use for different personalities. Now, I've also heard it said somewhere that these descriptions all get so overwhelming that in the end, you need a soothsayer, a witch doctor, and a B- in early hieroglyphics to actually figure out what the hell any of it means. The earliest record of this sort of thinking was written in 400 BC by Hippocrates, and he noted that the four basic temperaments of human behavior are idea-oriented, theory-oriented, action-oriented, and fact-oriented. Now, because more often than not, human beings move in these rather predictable patterns, and because human beings must always exchange with one another, recognizing how human beings operate within transactions is an incredibly valuable strategy when you have to deal with other humans, but only if you need to operate with other humans. And if you've figured out a world in which you have escaped other humans, please let me know how you did it. But for the rest of us, we all understand human beings are complex. Now, at Influential You, we don't label people. We're not doing this to put us in some sort of a box. People don't like that. We here at Influential You simply study the ways that human beings tend to exchange with one another. In other words, the ways that human beings transact with one another. By focusing on this transaction or these exchange styles or personalities, we lower the cost that it is to work with us while simultaneously increasing the value we provide in all of our exchanges. If you'd like to download our personality and transaction model, you can go to the show notes right now for links to download your PDF or take a quiz that could even help you think more accurately about how you show up in transactions. Now, I'm going to talk about these four personalities, but the four personalities are basically the terms that we use at Influential You to identify the four personality groupings that Hippocrates observed. You'll see that we have named these groups differently, but the first is inventors, and these are your idealists or your subjectivists, performers, who are constructivists, producers, who are more objectivists or realists, and judges, who are skeptics and are deconstructivists. And over the next few episodes, we'll be inviting some very special guests that have studied with us to come and represent their respective personalities in transaction. But today, I'm going to give you a brief description of each. First is our inventors. Now, inventors tend to be more future-based, idea-oriented people who are self-reliant and highly subjective in their thinking. Many people with this transactional worldview find themselves as CEOs or in management roles. Many are entrepreneurs. The idea wins with this group, and if they're not careful, their ego can get in the way and ruin everything. Next is our performer. Now, performers tend to be more present-based. These are relationship-oriented people who are more inclined to be highly flexible in their thinking. Relationships are the really big win for the performers. They are often highly skilled in the use of liking, and they are often great in sales and marketing roles, learning and development, places where they get to have fun. They can also often be seen as aloof or goofy, and many times their need to be liked gets in the way of their ability to get ahead. Next up is producers, and they tend to be a little more short-term, 90 days in their thinking, and they're very objective in that thinking. Highly work-oriented doers. Many of the producers I've worked with have been engineer types. They love checklists, processes, ways of making sure things get done. These people are great in support roles where people need to complete tasks, and they often struggle, producers do, because they want to be recognized for their work, and they often don't know exactly how to speak about their value. They just want it to be shown in what they do. From what I've also been told, they often have that fear of missing out, or FOMO, and it's a problem with them because they really like to be accepted into groups. Lastly, we have our judges. Now, judges tend to be skeptics who rely on standards, competence, and evidence before they'll take any action. Many times this personality is great in finance or accounting roles. They can oftentimes be seen as prickly because they're often skilled at confrontation. And I believe they're the most misunderstood because they're simply trying to protect us with their skeptical worldview. And many of us often just hear it as nagging or complaining or being negative. Now, we're going to dive into these 4 personalities in a much deeper episode. But for our purposes today, the reason that these 4 personalities are so valuable is what we teach about how they fit within our transaction cycle. Now, in the show notes, or if you're watching me on YouTube, you can see some of these models that we're using, but there's the personality and transaction cycle PDF. Now, in here, what you'll see is that this model that we teach for exchange, each personality shines in certain moves and phases, and they can also be liabilities in other areas. Now, I'm going to put these side by side on the YouTube version, but inventors are really fantastic right up there at 12 o'clock. And they love to kind of assess, which is right before then, assess those breakdowns and then invent new possibilities because they want to solve those breakdowns. It's what they love to do with their ideas. But they often struggle at the next move, which is inviting others to hear about their ideas. This is where a performer shines because I, my friends, am a walking invitation. Performers not only invite you into a new possibility, they also make great presenters because they're gifted with narrative. But when it comes to contracts, performers struggle because they're often too worried about rubbing that relationship wrong. So in comes a producer who loves to know what's going on. Remember, they want to be included. They want to know what was discussed with that person in that presentation. Producers come in with the contracts and they often like to keep the consistency going. And so they fulfill on those contracts. But many of them, when they get to measure, they find that they have an issue because they feel like it doesn't need improvement. It's good the way it is. Here comes a judge, and a judge doesn't allow that thinking to happen as they gather the results and consequences really quickly of what happened and then define those results and consequences into facts and judgments. Now, they'll also get hung up on assessment and sometimes get too many possibilities or analysis paralysis. Now, I'm going to take that slide away, but when you begin to operate within your transactions on that level with other people, you begin to quickly see where breakdowns are constantly occurring, and you can quickly move and pinpoint the place where you need to create a solution. Well, that's all for our podcast today on why influential you study personalities. My name is Josh D'Amigo, and I'll see you next time on the Influential You podcast.